into some of the subjective parts of, I think, the things that you should be asking yourself if you are considering a psychedelic experience. Or the other way that I think about it are these are indicators of how it might feel if you are ready for a psychedelic experience. So the first one is you feel stuck. You're ready to take action and try new alternatives. And out of the thousands and thousands of folks that we have talked to interested in psychedelic experiences, the psychedelic curious, if you will, the majority, I'd say like 98%, I'm picking a percentage out there out of the air. Most of those folks say that they feel stuck in some way. Now, that stuckness can feel small. That stuckness can feel really large, being really, really stuck over a period of time. But in that stuckness, they have a desire to get unstuck, which leads them to this motivation to take some type of action or try new alternatives. What I said before applies here. The cost of staying the same is greater than the cost of trying something new or venturing into a new process. I think another really important notion is that you view psychedelic use as an enhancement or a catalyst to your healing process, but not a replacement for it. And most folks on the surface will hear me say this and be like, yeah, of course. But I need you to be dead honest with yourself. If you view psychedelics as a replacement for your own healing process, as a replacement for your own effort and your own work, I will tell you that you have a right to do that. But I will also tell you, as somebody who has done this directly themselves, there is a really, really high impact and a high repercussion of that. Thinking the same about psychedelics being in relationship with you is that you want to step into this in a way that respects the other party. And so if I was going to a friend just to use them, just to get something from them, to have them do the heavy lifting for me while I'm sitting on the sidelines expecting to receive, you can imagine that that relationship is going to deteriorate over time. And what we're talking about is building a relationship with the psychedelic so that we can build a better relationship with ourselves and therefore build stronger relationships with our community, our loved ones, and the world in which we live, right? And so all of this stuff goes hand in hand. So only you'll know if you are thinking about psychedelics as some sort of replacement, or the other piece that I'll talk about is that you understand that psychedelics are not a cure-all or magic bullet. Now, this one is pretty interesting because also on the surface, I think people will acknowledge this, but then may have different feelings internally. And I have a lot of heart and understanding for folks who may have tried conventional methods for 20, 30, 40 years, or folks who have been suffering in the same fashion for 30, 40, 50 years. Folks who may feel like they're somewhat running out of options, right? And I certainly understand that. But one of the key things about psychedelic work is that you are the solution. You are the inner healer. So the moment that you're looking to something external as a cure-all or a magic bullet or a panacea or this magic potion that I take that all of a sudden makes me feel whole again, you're actually giving away your inherent power, your intrinsic value, and your own power. And so this is really, really important here. I think that it is respectful to understand the potential power of psychedelic experiences, to be in reverence to the catalyzing effect or the potential therapeutic or healing effect of psychedelics, but not in a way in that it removes your own ability to be that innate healer. So something that I think is really nuanced, but really, really important for folks to go through their own process of where they sit in relationship to psychedelics as a part of their healing process. A couple more straightforward ones is that you're again clear about your intentions and the issues that you'd like to address. I certainly have had psychedelic experiences where it was kind of more open-ended. Certainly psychedelic experiences where I've just wanted to be an explorer and see, quote unquote, what's out there. But even that is somewhat of an intention, right? And so, what we share with folks is you want to think about those 2 to 3 things that carry a lot of magnitude in your life. That if there was any movement with those things, that it may help to get you unstuck, right? And then that leads into another notion is that you're ready to make progress towards healing no matter how large or small. Even if it's as little as 1% better or a 1 degree shift in your perspective. Because oftentimes folks think about these big romanticized psychedelic experiences. Oh, I had an experience where I met God and he gave me all the answers and I was connected to the universe and all that. Sure, those big ecstatic experiences happen, but I share with folks time and time again that psychedelic healing happens in the mundane. It happens in everyday life. It happens when I'm washing dishes, or it happens when I have a shower thought, or it happens when, I'm cooking a meal right after the psychedelic experience. And also the other notion is that if we're looking at a 1% feeling better or a 1 degree shift, you may not even notice that until you go through a span of time. Maybe it's 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years after a psychedelic experience where you look back and you're like, oh, something there did shift. And now that I look over a period of time, I can kind of put my finger on it. Another thing that's really important is you're ready to do the internal work and you understand that this is a process of exploring the root causes of your suffering. It's not just about symptomatic relief. Symptomatic relief will be great for folks, but I share that if you're just looking to alleviate the symptoms, you may be putting the cart before the horse. So if you're ready to do that deep dive into the root causes of your own suffering, I think that may be an indicator that you're ready for the work related around intentional psychedelic experiences. It's also always helpful to be informed and knowledgeable and having done your own thorough research about therapeutic psychedelic use. One of the really beautiful things is that we are seeing more and more and diverse sets of psychedelic service like opening up much more than we had experienced in the past even 5 years. And so one of the pieces that I talk about is that you have a lot of different options on how to explore psychedelic experiences nowadays. And hopefully that trend will continue to be so. And so the clearer that you are about studies or anecdotal stories or talking to people who have had psychedelic experiences, the better that can inform your own decisions around, psychedelics. And I think that, one thing that I'll speak to again is that I know that there are folks out there who are particularly vulnerable in their suffering, folks who may have a level of, I guess what I'll say is that prioritization and desperation are different sides of the same coin, right? And so for folks who may be experiencing this level of desperation, hey, I hear you and I have a lot of heart for you. And what I want to share is that it is really important that you don't view psychedelics as a last resort. Mostly it's because these are very mysterious substances in the way that it works. Sometimes I've had psychedelic experiences that have been deeply direct and impactful. Other times I've had psychedelic experiences that have been very subtle and the change has been incremental over time. And so if I was viewing psychedelics as a last resort, I may be putting undue expectation on timing, how my healing looks, wanting to go for these big shifts and big changes. But really, the psychedelic experience is offering me something more subtle, more graceful. And so this is really about alignment of expectation here, because for some psychedelic experiences, it can make somebody question and challenge all of the beliefs that they have in their life, right? And so that takes time to go through a process like that. And it is even more impactful when you're going through that with a knowledgeable psychedelic professional like a coach or a facilitator. Therefore, one thing that I said before is that is an example of what I mean when I say that you're viewing psychedelics as a tool to build a healthier and more meaningful relationship with yourself, and then therefore your loved ones and the world around me, by building a healthy and meaningful relationship with the psychedelic.